where we'll spend most of our time today is in the Layout tab. Because that page is published, I need to create a new revision to make changes. If we saw in the Publishing tab all of those revisions, to unlock this layout area, I need to create a new revision. So I need to click on that red link. And then this area becomes available to me. Now, there are 5 areas, there are templates for pages. So it's a way of breaking up your page into these 5 areas. If you think about a single web page, I could have some information in the middle, but I could put a box of information on the right-hand side on desktop. So generally, I'd say we probably don't need to use these areas around the outside. There are specific cases where it's useful, but most of the time we don't need it. So I would suggest changing the template of your pages for the time being. I would change that template and you can select a page template for this page. I would suggest 1 column in the first instance. So I'm going to change that page to a 1 column. And now it's just easier to not get lost and not have to worry about things. And the reason for doing that is because these things called includelets, which are boxes like this, these are all layout and configurable boxes of information. So rather than just typing text, we could lay out grids of images, links to pages. We could add YouTube videos. We can add lots and lots of different types of boxes into this column. And they are already giving you layouts that the 5 area used to do in a more clunky way. So the boxes that we add give you these really fluid, nice, mobile responsive layouts. So we don't really need to use those other areas. This is our content column. So the stuff we publish for our page is in this content column. You've got 2 columns over to your right. There's a scratch column and a trash column, which are pretty much exactly as they sound. So scratch, if I move anything into this column, it's saved for another time, but my visitors don't see it. If I put it in the trash, the next time I come to this page, if I move off this page and I come back to it, it would be deleted from this column. So the trash really is a permanent deleted trash area. So if you move something into trash, it goes. Now, most of these boxes, which are called includelets, most of them you are just command boxes. You're just ticking things on and off quite often. Some of them you add stuff into. So it's only the ones that you really add a lot of information into, that like you're typing or you're adding lots of images or whatever. Those are the ones that you might want to put in Scratch. But most of them, it doesn't matter really if they end up in the trash column. Includelets are just boxes of information that enable you to kind of lay out information in the page in a different way. And there's lots of them. There's a whole long list of them, and they all do different things. And we're going to focus on ones that are particularly useful, but there are a lot, and some of them relate to applications which we haven't even looked at yet. So I'm going to take you through a couple of them that I think will be useful for now. But as you start to develop your sites, you'll find others that will be good for you as well. In order to add a box, I add an includelet. I click on Add Includelet, the pink button in this column. And there are lots of them. So here's the list. Sorry for the scrolly, but here's the list of them, loads of them, all do different things. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about knowing them all. Just before I move on from that, the content item, this is a bit hard to get your head around sometimes. The content item, always leave it where it is. You can put things above and below it, but don't move it anywhere. Just leave. I wish it was locked down, really. Essentially, when you're typing things in the Edit tab, if I add information in here, what I'm doing is I'm typing into this box. So that's what the content item is. So without a content item, there is no page. So often people delete that or they duplicate it, and then you've either got the whole lot of information duplicated down the page, or you don't know where your page is. There's like a blank page there. Let's get started with a custom content box. So custom content gives you the most tools available, but I want to show you how we're going to use it now. So let me just get back to the example here. So this page on our website, this is what we're going to do next. So on our page, we're going to add an image, possibly on the left or right, with a little bit of text. Don't worry about the text that you're writing. You can type anything. It's just to have a little bit of information. That's what we're going to do. We're going to create this layout. So that's a custom content box that helps you to do that. So I'm just going to click on that box. So I click on the line, hover over it and click. And there's quite a lot of different things I can do with custom content. It's the only one that's fully customizable. So I can really play around with this and do lots of things. I can put information inside colored boxes, for example, which is what this panel is. If I want it to have a panel, I can choose panel. That will put a border around the outside of this box. And I can choose a panel color, which will come from your theme, underlying theme. So I'll do that for now, and then we'll do the other one later. So let's just have, I'm just going to use a green box for now. Title with a custom content box, always add one, even if you decide not to show it. So I'm just going to say, very exciting, example of a custom content box, just so that we know what it is, and I'll leave it to show. And what we're going to do next is choose a graphic. So I want that image on the left or the right. So I want to select that graphic to show. So I'm just going to find one I've already uploaded. So hopefully you uploaded one last week. Just use that. Don't worry about uploading new ones for now. Let's go to something that already exists, unless you don't have anything at all. So I'm just going to pick one of my spring birds. Looking forward to spring. Might have some winter birds. That's what I should be adding. Choose the goldfinch. And the position of it is the next thing. So do I want that on the left or the right? I'm just going to say left half for now. That's fine. And then I'm going to write some text. So here's some text about about this lovely, whoops, can't spell, lovely goldfinch on our branch, having fun. Or raging, I'm not sure what that's about to be. Having fun. There we go. Oh, lovely. There we go. So I've got a little bit of text. Ignore all the stuff at the bottom. You can ignore all of this, just ignore it, and then save changes. So all I've done is fill in the basic details and picked a graphic for that box. Obviously it saves it. I've saved it, but it's not published yet. So I'm going to publish this page, and just so I can see it, publish. Okay, I'm going to make it go live. And if I go to my test page now, there we go, there's my box. So at the moment it's in a green panel, and that's the title, has been picked up from the theme. And here's some text about the goldfish and my image on the left. We're going to add a YouTube video. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to choose out of these boxes the YouTube video. It is right at the bottom, but there we go. There's also something called video asset, which will put it into your own assets library online on your Voice website. I'm going to try YouTube video, and it just opens up straight away on the page all the details I need to fill in about it. I'm going to do it in a panel first, and then we'll have a look at the other mode. I'm just going to choose blue for now, just to see what it looks like. And I'm also going to give it a title, but you don't have to. So it depends where its position is on the page as to whether you bother with a title or not. I'm going to do it now just so that we can see what it is. So I'm going to say example of a YouTube video. I can give it a description if I want to. Video of something amazing. But you don't have to. And it's really easy with YouTube videos. You can put in just the ID or the URL. So if I go to our channel, and I'm just going to go and get that URL. So if I'm just going to go to the three dots and share, and I'll just get this link. So if I get this link and copy, and I come back to that box, and I'm just going to paste that in. And if in doubt, you can get rid of everything after the question, get rid of the question mark and everything else afterwards. But I think this should work. And I'm just going to leave the rest for now and save changes. Now all boxes get put into the bottom. What I could do if I wanted to is move it around. I can click and drag to move it around. So I might put it at the top actually. Let's move it and put it to the top. So you see the red line and I drop it. And I'm going to publish. Obviously, View Live, it's not going to work at the moment because this page isn't published. You could have a look at it in preview. You can go back to edit and scroll down and save and publish. So there's lots of different ways of doing it, but there's no publishing within the layout area. Anybody that uses preview, don't forget to close your preview box. So if you do look at something in preview, just always get into that rhythm of, okay, I've looked at it in preview. Maybe I've maximized the screen. Once I finish looking at the thing on screen, close it. In order for it to publish for my site visitors, I'm actually going to go to the Publishing tab and publish. And let's have a look and see what that looks like. So at the moment, it's in a panel, which has given it this blue color and a title that looks like this. That was the description. And this is the video. That's the size that YouTube automatically will give you for your video. So I can make other choices around this. I'm going to come back into my layout tab. Now it's already published, so I need to create a new revision. I'm going to configure now. So there's always a configure, which is your edit button for these boxes. So I'm just going to configure that YouTube box. So instead, this time I'm going to move it out of a panel and into inline. And inline just means in line with all the other information on the page. Basically get rid of the box from the outside. So I want it to just look like it's on the page. No fancy stuff around it. And I'm going to change the ratio. And so what you'll find with voices, there's lots of ratios here. They're repeated in other boxes. So most of these in this situation wouldn't be useful. So these ones which say 2x1 wider, they're all ratios 3:1, 4:1. They'll cut off bits of your video, so you don't want those. You would choose 16:9 really. So that's the only one that makes sense for this. So it's either natural as source, leave it at the size it came in, or make it 16:9 widescreen, which will fill the page. So if I make it 16:9 widescreen now, I've taken it out of a box and I'm just going to save changes and then publish. And I'll just refresh. I'm in another tab, so I'm just going to refresh this one from here. And there you can see it's filled the screen now. It's full screen in 16:9, and I've got rid of the box from the outside, and I've got the title and the description above it. The next one that's quite it's quite a nice includelet is Carousel Accordion Grid. The reason is that you can add the same content into this box and then make it display in different ways. I'm going to come over to Elmington Community Gardens, who've built their site with voice. I'm just going to come down a little bit on their homepage. So this grid here is basically they've created this. There's different ways of doing this, but they've created this grid with a title, little bit of information. They've added an image, and then there's a link, which is a find out more button, which they've actually typed out, made into a link, and then turned into a button. So they've got three things in a grid side by side. You could do the same with this with just images like this, 2 items like this, like the Centre 70 site. You could use a grid for that one. And let me just come to KVA's site. So this is the same box. It's the same includelet that can do this, where you get a pop down. So people click on the link and it pops down and you get the information. Now you don't have to have images in there, but that's what it would pop down in this way. So this is really useful for things like FAQs, or where you've got text but you don't want it all the way down the page, and you've got answers to questions or snippets of information that you want to do rather than doing headings. So this particular box can do all of those things. So I've come back to my layout tab and I'm going to create a new revision to make changes, and go to Add Includelet. It's called a Carousel, Accordion, or Grid. So I'm just going to click on the link again just to open up the box. So we'll start with a grid. So I'm going to choose grid 2, mobile 1. I'm just going to use 2 items. So I want to put 2 things side by side, a bit like the Centre 71. Grid 2 wide, mobile 1. All that means is on a laptop, for example, there are 2 things in a grid side by side. But on mobile 1, that just means it will fill the mobile screen. So the thing on the right will drop under the thing on the left so that you don't have 2 things side by side. The thing fills the mobile screen. That's what that means. I'm going to ignore that now, grid gallery for now. I'll give it a title so we know what it is, but again, you don't have to. So example of that's the long one, carousel grid accordion. Wrong way round, I know. And then I can choose how I want the information to display. So I'm going to choose, there's a few different ones like pictures only, you could put text only in a grid. I'm going to choose pictures with text underneath. I'm just going to leave the images for now and I'm going to add the content block. So I've decided how I want it to look and now I add the information. So I'm going to add a content block. So I click on this little pink button and I've got some stuff and it looks quite similar to the web pages. So it's the same tools really. I'm going to choose an image. So I want an image in my grid. So I'll select from my assets library. I'm just going to work with what I've got. So you could add new images if you wanted to down here, but I'm going to just add a couple of things. So I'm going to choose, what shall I do today? I'm going to go with my look ahead to my spring birds. So I'm going to have a blue tit. I'll just call it blue tit for now. Blue tit on a branch. And I'll add in a little description, looking forward to spring. Shouldn't really, we should love every season, but there we go. Looking forward to spring. So I've got an image, I've got a title, and I've got a bit of information. I'm just going to click OK. I have a grid of 2. That's what I wanted to do. So I am going to add another content block. So I'm going to add another block and do exactly the same thing again. So let's go to my spring birds and we'll have a kingfisher. I'll just call it for the sake of today, kingfisher. I can't spell at all here. Kingfisher. One of my favourite birds. Sitting on a branch, hoping for some food. There we go. And OK. So I've got my 2 content blocks. Now, if I wanted the kingfisher to come first, I can simply move it. I can edit these at any time, but I might just move my kingfisher up to the top. So I've got my kingfisher first, my blue tit second, and I'm going to ignore the rest of this for now and save changes and then publish. And I'm just going to refresh this page. And I think it's all the way at the bottom. So I need to scroll down because it was at the bottom underneath my content item. So there we go. There's my kingfisher, that content block on the left, and my blue tit on the right. If I were to minimize my screen, do you see it's dropped down? Let me just move this over so you can see a bit better. Whoops. Whoops. On a mobile phone, the kingfisher would be at the top and the blue tit would be underneath. So the smaller the device, it fills the screen. So we've got one item dropping down underneath the other. If I went for a grid gallery, and let's say yes, and I'll just publish. And let's go and see what that looks like. It's kind of disappeared, the description, the text. I've actually still got the title. When I click on the kingfisher, it will pop up and I can move amongst the grid. So really useful for kind of photos where you've got a photo gallery that you want to display. Of course, I could decide, actually, I want this to be an accordion. So I could do it as an accordion and then I could change it. I could say, do you know what? I want the pictures with text to the right. I'm going to have it as an accordion and I'm going to say the accordion open at the beginning. I'll say no, because I don't want to have an image in the first one showing. Save changes. And I'm just going to publish. Let's see what that looks like now. I come back to this tab and refresh. It's now in a in an accordion style. And when I click on it, there's my image on the left and there's my text on the right, because that's what I asked it to do. Blue tit on a branch, there we go. And the other one's popped back up. And now I can see that information image on the left, some text on the right for the blue tit. Maybe I'll do grid 3 and see what that looks like. No, and I'll go back to text underneath and save changes and publish. And I'm just going to refresh that again. And now I've got 3 items side by side. But of course, I've only added 2 content blocks, which is why there's a space over to the right. If you want to use a grid carousel accordion to then link through to pages, so you have to manually add the link in. So this find out more button has been manually added. It's not automatically there because we're not choosing pages to link to. Like the item list, we just go, I want that page, and that page, and I want to show them in this list. You can do this on any page. But I'm just going to choose a carousel, but you could do it on a page, you could do it in a custom content. It doesn't matter what you choose. So if I edit this first block, and because you see it's exactly the same toolbar you'll get anywhere else, and just add a link like you normally would. So link long. So I'm going to say, I don't know what else I've got here, Noticeboard. Let's say I'm getting people through to the Noticeboard, and just highlight that and link like you normally would. So I'll go to a link and I'll choose the Noticeboard. Oh, I don't even know where it is. Don't think it's enabled. Let's just say I'm just going to do it to latest news. I leave it as that. The class, and it's not often that you use classes in voice as a user. So that's usually something that developers use, but there's a few in here that might be useful. So when you're adding links, you can actually add the button automatically to it to turn it into a button. So primary default is usually grey. Button primary is whatever the color is that's coming through from the theme. And then there's an extra one, which is usually green or something similar. So I'm going to choose button primary and save. And you can see it's put something in the background there to show that it's a button. And what I can't remember what my site is, but if I just click OK, I'll just save changes and publish this page. And let's just see what that looks like. Come back and view live. So, oh, here it is in this one. So there's my button there. And then that would go through to my latest news page. Related image, it displays the first related image of the current page with an optional caption. So let's try that. I don't know if I've got one here. So let's go into Relations tab first. I'll add a related image. Oh, summer food. Let's have strawberries. Imagine that summer is coming round the corner. I'm going to go back into the layout tab. And imagine that instead of, I'm going to move it up to somewhere up the page. No, I'll just put it in down there actually. So let's add in a related image. I can make some choices as to how I want it to display as per normal, big, small. Do I want to show the image caption? Let's say yes. And save changes. And that's right at the bottom, the related image. So don't forget, it's the related image for this page. So I put strawberries in here. I went into the layout and added the related image includelet. Let's publish. And it'll be all the way at the bottom. So I'll just move over to the home page and refresh. Come down to the bottom, sorry for the scrolling, and there's the image in full. I'm going to come into relations. So I've added one, which was strawberry, but I can add multiple. So I'm going to add another one and I'll just add some more. What else have I got? Strawberry 2, it's the same one. Let's go for some more food. That is not mushrooms. There we go, apples. I'm going to add another one. Let's go for my open fire. I'm just going to keep adding a few. So let's add 4 in. Mushrooms, there we go. Just make sure that page is published. Yeah. So I'll come into the layout tab. I'm going to create a new revision to make changes. And this time I'm going to add in a related image gallery. I'm going to add in a gallery. So can't remember where it is. There we go. Related image gallery. I'll give it a title, just show you an example of a related image gallery. Yeah, let's have them 4 wide with mobile 2. I'll make them 16:9. Let's just save changes and see what that looks like. And I'll just refresh this. So underneath my strawberries, I've got some pictures, and it's just a gallery of images. So if you've got a page of photos or you want to build up, don't forget you can have more than one of these with a different title. You could have a page of, here's our, workshops in action. Here's our the park in autumn, whatever it might be, and use related images from the page. Child list of links to pages below this page. So if you wanted like a quick list, let's say on this, let me go to, that's not a very good one. Let me go to the home page and do that one. And I'm just going to add that in now randomly. Let's do a child list. So it's playing around with some of these. Whoops. Developer controls, that's not useful. Again, putting all the orders, blah, blah, blah. Let's just see where that is. That's at the bottom. That's fine. Let's go and have a look at that. And hopefully that will be down here somewhere. Yeah, here's a child list. So it's created a kind of list already of what was on those pages. So child list is another quick way of where you've got a list of pages that exist in a section, and you want to pull across what pages exist underneath very quickly. So to enable an application, applications are pre-programmed. It's quite easy to add information to them. They look like they should. They already provide the formatting. So we've been looking at the calendar, which I've already renamed to events, but I can do that again. To enable an application, just click on it. You can give it a URL. So I've called it events. I could rename it calendar if I wanted to. I can also rename it the title for the top of the page. So I could say events calendar if I wanted to. Call it something else, what's on, what's happening, whatever I want to, and confirm. And this bit at the back is doesn't really give you the place to add your events. So the admin here is not about that. It's about choosing how it looks, but it doesn't give you the option to add. You have to do that from the front of the site. So you can see here I've got it ticked to show in the navigation. You can untick that. So it's ticked to show in nav, and I want to leave it like that. So now when I come back to my site, as you can see, it's not there yet. I'll just refresh. There it is. There's my events calendar. And I've got a couple of items in already. You'll see the add an event because you're administrators and you're logged in. That's why you'll see this button. So I'm going to click on add an event, and then I start to fill in the details. So foraging in December. Workshop. I'm going to select an image, try to make sure that this image is as unfussy and uncomplicated as possible. And you'll see why in a little bit. So I'm going to just pick a photo or something I've designed that's not what I found a lot of people do is put full posters in there, and it looks really messy. So try and pick an image that's relatively simple. So I'm going to choose my autumn food, and I'll do my mushroom pepper salad. And I can add in the information about the event. So whatever I want to add in there, and you can see it's quite common. This is the full, you can put in as much as you like here, information. I'm going to set the date for it. So we can say it's the 18th of December. You have to type in the date. So if it was 2025, you'd have to type that in. I can use different hours. So let's say this is 10 till 2. I can also repeat it if I want to. So I'll leave that for now, but that would bring up the repeat options. So if something's happening 3 weeks in a row or for 4 weeks, that's what I might do there. And you don't have to fill in this information. It depends on only fill in what you want to share. So I'll put in my name and my email. You don't have to put in a phone number. They're not required fields. And if I add a street address, it will generate a map for me. So if I add in a postcode, it will send me the link to that map. Sometimes you'll find somewhere and it's not the precise location. You might need to go to Google Maps and go get the precise drop your marker on the map and get the link, and then you can drop that in yourself and it will generate the map and use that instead. So it depends on how accurate the postcode is to where you want it to be. And if there's a cost or anything else that I want to put in, I can say that and click OK. So that's how that will now look to somebody who's visiting. Because I'm logged in, I can edit that event or copy it. I'm only seeing those buttons, and of course I can delete it as well. You'll see there's my foraging in December workshop, and that's where the image is on that left-hand side in the list. So you see, that's why I don't want it to be too full of text and information, because it'll be really hard to see. I want it to just be something really easy and simple. So I've got my calendars. Now, of course, if I click on this as a visitor or as for you, you can just copy that and send it out to people. You can direct people to the individual calendar item. But I also might want to display on my home page. Under this, I've got something about us. You can see here, this is my upcoming events that have been listed 3 in a row. So this is another includelet that does this automatically. So that's what we'll do next, is add this box in. So I'm going to come back to my home page and I'm going to go into layout and probably create a new revision to make changes if the boxes aren't white. And I want to put this at the bottom. So I'm going to add includelet. And this time it's called upcoming events. So this is one that relates directly to the calendar. So I'm going to choose upcoming events. And again, you'll get used to this. What display mode do I want it in? Do I want it in a panel? I'm going to choose inline. I want it to be on the page. And I'm going to have 3 wide mobile 1, but you might have something else. You might have 2. You might want to just show 3 items side by side on desktop. And I'm going to call this latest events. And I can decide whether I want to show, even if there are no upcoming events. Now, if you're running events every week and there are always events on, let's say you had 3 a day, then you might want to tick no, because you know that you've got lots of live events on. If you're running events less frequently, then I might say yes, because I'll show the most recent one. So even if it was last week or last month, at least it shows there was something happening. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say the maximum number of events to display. I'm going to say 3, because I've asked it to be a 3 grid. So I don't want it to be 4, because I don't want an extra one popping down onto the row below. I can choose the time period, so how much of the stuff I want to show. If again, make it longer if your frequency of events is lower. So I might just choose 6 months, see what that is. I can choose a ratio for the images. I suggest you choose what you want that to be, which will be one of those square, postcard, or widescreen. I'm going to choose widescreen. And then I can make a decision about whether I show the first sentence of the description. So that's what that means. Show item description. I could say yes. Truncating just means just only show me the certain number of characters. So the default is 200. I might make that higher or lower. And that means when you add your events, you have to think about what the first sentence is of the event if you want to show that. So I might just to see it, I'll do that, but you don't have to. You can switch that off. And the same with the more events link, you could switch that on and off. So do you want people to see that there's a calendar they can click through to? I think that's a good idea. So I'm going to say yes and save changes. So again, if you notice with the latest events includelet, it's just a commands box. You're not typing in information to it. You're just telling the box to display information from the calendar. So I'll just publish that in the publishing tab, and I'll come back to my live and refresh. So there we go. I called it latest events. That was the title, and it's put the grid of 3 things in a row, and there's a maximum of 3. And I decided I wanted to show the description. For those of you who've been looking at the calendar, the one that works in exactly the same way, if you wanted to easily add news items that look like blog posts, would be Noticeboard or Weblog, one of those, but Noticeboard, and then latest posts, Includelet. So they work in exactly the same way. If you add news stories, so we've been looking at create a page. If you create a news story, which is a web page, basically, it's just a slightly different name function. If you create a news story page and you created all of your news as pages instead, if you use the latest news includelet, it does the same thing. Something else that's quite popular actually for groups. So I'm going to come back to my website. I'm going to go into the applications again, is useful links. So it just makes you list a list of links, which generally is about links to other websites. So quite often, if you're signposting to other places, this might be useful. It just helps with formatting. So I'm just going to click on enable. And again, I can choose a URL for it. I could call it useful links if I want to. And OK. And you see there it's enabled straight away in the background. I can go to the admin for this one. So if I go to admin, now I've enabled it and go to admin, I can now start adding these links in. So I can change the title and I can give it a description if I want to for the page. Remember, this creates a page. Now I just go to the links tab and I can just add them in. So if I add a link, I can give it a title. Let's call this one Superhighways. I could add a description. We're amazing. And then I just simply paste the link in. So I'm just going to go to the Superhighways site and go to a proper site, not the test site. So I go and copy this address and I just paste that into the URL field. So I can add what I like and I click save, open a new window. Yes, I want it to be that, and click save. And select where I'd like the link to go. So I'm just going to paste it at the top. So I'm going to place my link here. And now I've got 2 links. This was one from previously. And if I just look at the front of the website, just to show you. So now I've got useful links in the menu. And when I go there, they look like this. So that's the information and the title is the link. I can also put headers in. So if I wanted to, I could say, this one is information and guidance, save, place it here. And then I could do another header if I wanted to. I might say this one is sports wars, and save. And I'm going to place that one here to get another list in. I can move them around then. If I now go back to my list of useful links, I've got I've got a header. I could put in a paragraph of text and I've got the links and then I've got my next header. So that's just something to think about, is explore the applications a little bit, have a think about them, because if they give you the formatting that you want, or they give you the functionality you want, then you might want to use those rather than trying to use pages. But generally, pages will always give you the greatest flexibility across your site for listing and showing things in a mixed way. That's it for today. I think we got through quite a lot, so well done, everybody. That's some things to explore. So do try and explore a little bit. Just think about some layouts, think about what's going to work for your site.